We were passing by St. Patrick's Well, so decided to investigate. That's where we met David, who very kindly told us about the well and the church that's on the site, and he gave us permission to film him. So we want to say thank you, David. This video is dedicated to you.
Sorry, what's your name?
David.
David.
Yeah. This is a natural spring. You can see the water coming up here. It's coming up here through limestone. Basically all south of Tipperary here, going back into County Cork. There's probably 50 or 60 miles of limestone here. So where you get limestone, you get caves or caverns underground. Have you ever been down in caves? No?
No, have not.
No, there's amazing caves at the other side of Cahir. They'll be about 15 miles from here. The Mitchellstown Caves, I would say they're the best caves in Europe. But it's the same block of limestone anyway. So these caverns are filled with water. The water is coming up through the little crevices and fissures in the limestone. So it's filtered and purified naturally as it comes up. You know, the water is coming up here all over, but this is the original well here. Now, it's a geological phenomenon. The water has been coming up for over 1,000 million years, but people have been coming to this well for about 9,000 to 10,000 years. They were coming here roughly 8,000 to 9,000 years before St. Patrick. Now, back in pre-Christian times, you didn't have any towns or cities. Dublin, Cork, Waterford, Limerick, Clonmel, Kilkenny, Tullamore, you name it, full stop. They weren't in existence. But what people tend to forget is you still had people in the country. So we're here, very near the river shore. We're less than a mile from the shore here. So those old pagan or pre-Christian, there would have been a lot of people living on the banks of the shore. So those old pagan or pre-Christian people, they assembled wherever there was fresh water. Now water, you can live without a lot of things, but you can't live without water. So this was supposed to be one of the single biggest assembly places in Ireland before Christianity. People come for water, for healing, for socialising, they come to trade, they come to make matches, they come to wash, they come to be taught. Everything happened at the well. So you had all types of trades and professions, from druids to traders to healers, physicians, musicians, storytellers, you name it. They all came to the well. So we call the pre-Christian people pagans. So the pagans, they had 4 big festivals in the year, at the beginning of February, the beginning of May, the beginning of August and the beginning of November. And we're told that those festivals here back then you could have up to 50,000 people here. So it was a huge assembly place. There's a stone there in the face. Well, that stone marks the centre of the old pagan assembly place here. So you can imagine that being a big natural amphitheatre around there. When Patrick began to Christianise Ireland in the 5th century, he began in the year 432. As I said, in pre-Christian times you didn't have towns or cities, but in the 5th century, the 2 most important places in this country was Cahir and County Meath, the capital where the High King lived. Remember, Dublin, Cork, any of those places weren't in existence in the 5th century. Cahir was the capital of Ireland in the 5th century, and where the High King lived, and the second most important place was here beside us, Cashel, where the King of Munster, where the King of this region of the country lived. So Patrick, he began in Cahir by preaching Christianity to the High King. Ultimately he reached Cashel. The King in Cashel, the King of Munster at that time, was a man by the name of Angus. So Patrick preached, converted and baptised the King in Cashel. Now a straight line from here to Cashel is about 10 miles. So there's probably 15 to go by roads, but remember there was no roads there in the 5th century anyway. So when he had the King converted in Cashel, and because this was where the big assembly of people was, and because it was so close to Cashel, this was the obvious place for Patrick to come. So he came here to this place in the year 447, and he preached, converted and baptised here at this well. So when he had these people here converted to Christianity, that cross that you see out there in the centre of the present pool, that cross was erected there then. So that cross has been there from the middle of the 5th century, so we believe it's the oldest cross in Ireland. So people have been walking out to that cross for almost 1,600 years there.
Okay. Is there a particular prayer or anything you would do when out there? That's up to yourself.
You can say your own prayer, your own intention there.
And I see little bubbles coming up here.
That's the water coming up. That's the oxygen in the water. Like. A few words about the church here. The church was built almost 1,000 years after St. Patrick being here. This church was built between 1418 and 1420 by Cistercian monks, the same monks as you have in Melleray, exactly the same. Cistercian monks originally came from France to Ireland in 1140, and the first abbey they built was down the road here in Ishlownach. There's not even one single stone of it left. The Abbey of Ishlownach owned about 20,000 acres of land, so this well was on their land back then. So they built this church here on the site of a 9th century church. There was a 9th century church here before this, and there was probably a wooden church from St. Patrick's time until the 9th century.
Right.
But anyway, just to concentrate on this church for the time being, it was built between 1418 and 1420, just over 600 years ago. This church had a thatched roof and a sand thatch, and the monks operated the church then from 1420 when they had it built until 1650. If you remember your history, Clonmel was in full flight in 1650, so at the siege of Clonmel in 1650 he burned the roof of this church, so this church hasn't been used since 1650. Room there from 1623, can you see it?
Yes.
There's a man from Clonmel buried here, Nicholas White is his name. He was a wealthy man who died in 1622, and he bequeathed his money to have a church built in Clonmel. It's not there any longer. His family built a church. It was called White's Chapel. So while that church was operational from the 1620s until 1805, this tomb was within that church. But when that church fell down in 1805, that church was about 185 years old when it fell down. So when it fell into disrepair in 1805, his ancestors asked to have the tomb moved here. So this tomb has been here about 220 years.
You might be wondering what's going on here. Well, it's actually tradition to walk out to the cross and walk around it 3 times clockwise. The stones on the bottom of the water are sharp and can hurt your feet, and unsurprisingly the water can be cold. And it looks like quite a cool experience, and although I didn't try it this time, I'm hoping next time to give it a shot. We're hoping to visit many wells like this one around Ireland. And maybe you learned something new from this video. And tell me, have you ever visited St. Patrick's Well?